5.
Curry hits a three.
4.
Just on the drive. Deep left field.
3.
Patrick hit by Watt. Sack number 10.
2.
Messi with a record-breaking goal.
1.
Welcome to BSS Sports. Now, here are your hosts, Steve, and Trevor.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of BSS Sports. My name is Steven Schill with the ever lovely Trevor Struthers. And every league, sports-wise, seems to hate their commissioner. I mean, Adam Silver of the NBA, somebody who's been in kind of the safe zone, but, I mean, we'll see how much longer that lasts for. But the big one for this one is David Branch of the OHL, the Windsor Spitfires, winning the 99th Memorial Cup yesterday. And just before we talk about that game, David Branch and commissioners in general, why do you think that every league hates their commissioner?
I think it has to come down to a certain amount of authority, I guess, is what, I mean, obviously these are the people that are the figurehead in terms of the face of the rules of the organization. And that and money, I think, are at the top of the list as to why. It is kind of funny considering that in this case here with the Memorial Cup, that it was Windsor, the host team, that won the Memorial Cup. David Branch, to be honest, I don't know who's all part of the selection committee, but I'm no doubt David Branch has a say, being the commissioner of the OHL and the president of the CHL. They end up winning it. So, I mean, David Branch did actually kind of had something to do with them winning that Memorial Cup. And obviously, I mean, a lot of credit to Windsor to go out there and perform, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But, it's kind of funny in that way just because of it. I feel like it's almost just an automatic now. Like, it's the cool thing to do, I guess, in a way. It's just kind of to boo the commissioner or the president of a league because that's what everybody else has been doing. And we don't like them, because they have money and power.
I don't think you're wrong at all, but the thing that I feel that Windsor probably should have held off on the fact that they're probably not going to get another one for a while now, as long as David Branch is in charge. So,
with that being said, though, David Branch, it probably happens every year with David Branch. We just don't pay attention to it.
Fair enough.
I mean, really, I don't think they care too much about it. I mean, obviously, there's 60 teams in the CHL, so no doubt it'll be a while before Windsor gets to host another Memorial Cup. But I don't think really booing the president or the commissioner has really anything to do with when the Memorial Cup will return. It's just it's funny, just given this certain perspective that they won the championship, and a lot of that was because they were the host team, and Branch had a part in that.
And the Spitfires goalie getting pretty pissed off, the Erie Otters goaltender getting pretty pissed off after the game at a cameraman throwing his goalie stick at the camera guy. We'll see what kind of repercussions come out of that one. When Connor McDavid went to the NHL, there was a bit of concern, I guess you'd say, about Erie. Are they going to be as good? Are they going to be able to compete, etc.? And the answer was yes. Ever since Connor McDavid has left, the Erie Otters have been basically a force to be reckoned with. And the thing it's a little weird with the OHL, and more particularly the Memorial Cup, is it fair for a team that hasn't beaten an entire league like Erie did this year to play against a team like Windsor, who is just giving the hosting rights and then ends up losing to them in the final when Windsor was beaten out in the first round of the OHL playoffs, but they ended up, dominating the Memorial Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the ideal time to bring this up, too. I mean, obviously, with the conclusion of the Memorial Cup last night, but also the RBC Cup, you had the host team in Cobourg that was eliminated in the conference final of the OJHL by Trenton. They end up winning the RBC Cup for the Junior A National Championship, and Trenton was the host team for the Dudley Hewitt. They ended up only winning that because they were the host team, but they win the Dudley Hewitt after losing in the OJHL final to Georgetown in 7 games. So, I mean, it was pretty much the year of the host team that weren't able to find a way to win that first one, but because they were the host team, they win that tournament. And so, it makes great for the fans, obviously, because it's easier for them to attend the games when it's there, and obviously that's their team that they're rooting for, and in that way it works. And I think a lot of it comes down to, as well, is from what I've heard, it definitely comes down to a bit of a cash grab for the league to have that host team there, because that's where that fan base is going to be coming from. That's the easiest way to draw, right? Like, I mean, if you're having the the tournament in Windsor. And I mean, maybe fans from Erie can make the trip. Windsor isn't too far from the border of the U.S., obviously. But I mean, Seattle, St. John, it'd be hard for fans for them. You can't really rely on them to make the trip over to Windsor to watch them in the Memorial Cup. So you do kind of need that host kind of fan base to be there. Now about the Erie Otters, I mean, this was the best team in junior hockey this year. I think that goes without saying, that the consistency that they were able to have throughout the season. And, I mean, this was just a team that won and won and won and came up one goal short in the Memorial Cup final. That's what it came down to. They ended up losing to Windsor in that final game of the round robin, was their other little blemish, but they rebounded, win that semifinal, and here they are, they're one goal away. I mean, Dylan Strome, a fantastic season. Alex DeBrincat will have a very bright future. Taylor Radish was a guy that really stepped up and was a big performer for them. And Warren Fogle, Anthony Sorelli are two guys, too, that they picked up during the course of the year that really had impacts on their team. And, I mean, Sorelli's a guy you would know from watching with Oshawa, and Fogle, I mean, I had a chance to see him play here in Kingston, and these are two impact players they were able to pick up. The one maybe iffy thing with Erie, and you talked about the goaltender throwing the stick, it was their goaltending. Is would that be able to hold up? What they ended up going into with the playoffs and ultimately into the Memorial Cup was a duo of Troy Timpano and Joseph Murdaka, pardon me, but Timpano was a guy that was a goaltender with the Sudbury Wolves and wasn't really your typical kind of number one standout awesome goaltender like a DiPietro was with Windsor. And so they end up having to run with him, and they had enough offense to kind of make it through. And Timpano wasn't awful, but he had a great defense in front helping out, and that had a part to do with it. And the backup was a guy that started the year with the Trenton Golden Hawks as the backup there, and they end up adding him. And so really the goaltending was kind of patched together, and it ended up working so far, but they come one goal away from winning the MasterCard Memorial Cup, and that's no doubt going to be something that maybe gets second-guessed in Erie if they have that fan base for it. I mean, with the success, maybe they did, but they definitely didn't before Connor McDavid came to town, but that's another thing. They were able to continue that success even after McDavid's gone, and a lot of that obviously had to do is because Dylan Strome and Alex DeBrincat are the faces of that franchise. They are fantastic hockey players, much like a McDavid. Maybe not to that same level, but they are guys that can lead a team.
Talking about finals, the Stanley Cup finals are set. It's going to be Nashville versus Pittsburgh in the NHL Stanley Cup. But first, before we look at that series, the Senators made the world watch this year, forcing a Game 7, taking on the reigning champs, and they had to go to double overtime, where Chris Kunitz scored a second goal of the playoffs, end of the game, to send Pittsburgh to the final. And I feel there was a lot of fans broken over this.
I'm fine. I mean, Pittsburgh just they controlled that overtime from really the start. I think Ottawa had 4 shots in the first overtime, and the second overtime didn't last long enough for them to muster much either. So overall, I mean, that was a really entertaining game, and if people had the chance to see Game 7 of that series and watch the Memorial Cup final, in ways it felt very similar. Obviously, the Memorial Cup had more goals, and the Game 7 went to overtime, but other than that, I mean, it was basically a team would take a lead, and then another team would tie it up. In this case here with Game 7, Pittsburgh they were the only team that could take a lead in this game, but Ottawa was able to bounce back. The first one came about 20 seconds after, and then you had the Dion Phaneuf penalty on Phil Kessel, which no doubt was a bit of a dive on the part of Phil Kessel. It results in a power play for the Penguins. Justin Schultz, who had returned to the lineup. And that's another thing, is Pittsburgh's getting healthier now. That's something to look forward to as we move on to the Stanley Cup final. So Justin Schultz scores on the power play and puts Pittsburgh up with about 8 minutes left. And then what happens about 3 minutes later? It's Ryan Dzingel, of all people, a guy that has been a healthy scratch at times through these playoffs, comes up with the biggest goal of his career to tie that game up. And then, yeah, I mean, chances, it was going, I mean, Ottawa only had 4 shots, like I said, in that first overtime, but they also had some chances to end it as well. I mean, that's the thing as well. I mean, the Senators came close on a few chances, and I mean, Matt Murray was able to shut the door. And I mean, I think I brought it up before, but who would have thought Matt Murray at 23 years old would be this good? He just turned 23 on the day of that Game 7, by the way. So, I mean, this guy is still incredibly young, and now he's in his second straight Stanley Cup final. Obviously, the Penguins are a fantastic team in front of him in terms of how they're overall built. You know, it's not like he has the Colorado Avalanche in front of him, but I mean, he is finding a way to get the job done. And I mean, he wasn't even. It looked like he may have not have even been able to get in the crease, even if he came back from injury these playoffs. But Fleury had that bad game, so in comes Murray, and he takes it over, and he's not going to give it back up. I mean, this is their guy now throughout the rest of these playoffs, and he's going to be their guy for years to come. At 23 years old, you're not going to see Pittsburgh give up on this guy. So how about Matt Murray? Because he's been fantastic for them. And I mean, obviously Crosby and Malkin were their typical selves. They had a slow start in that Ottawa series, or at least Crosby did. Malkin not so much, but Malkin has been consistent throughout, and then Crosby heated up as that series went on, and it just made it incredibly difficult. And then you had the depth scoring at times show up for the Penguins. I mean, that was that 7-0 game in a nutshell. Depth scoring, 7 different goal scorers. A guy like Rust that can somehow find a way to put the puck in the net. And I mean, let's not underestimate the play of Craig Anderson in that series, because Craig Anderson, in his late 30s, obviously may not get another shot at this again, and he made his one shot count. Just came up a little short because his team couldn't ultimately pot that goal in overtime. But a fantastic year for the Senators, if you want to talk. I mean, obviously they surpassed expectations, and moving into next year, it'll be really intriguing. I mean, obviously you have a Colin White that kind of got into a couple of games towards the end of the year that they'll try to see if he can earn his way into the lineup next year. And a Thomas Chabot could arguably already be playing on that Ottawa blue line that he just finished up his junior career with the St. John Sea Dogs at this Memorial Cup and won the CHL Defenseman of the Year. So they have a bright future. Logan Brown won the Memorial Cup last night with Windsor. So they have a bright future ahead of them, as well as having apparently a team that can compete right now with this system under Guy Boucher. Who knows what the future holds for the Ottawa Senators, because, I mean, if this system continues to work with a team that, seems to be able to overperform, I'm intrigued to see how it plays out.
So, last thing I want to talk about with you is the fact that we're in Canada. We obviously don't see a whole lot of Nashville games, but obviously PK Subban was the big talking point last year as, the big trade happened with Montreal for Shea Weber. And when you think about the Nashville Predators, the instant thought is, okay, you have PK Subban and Pekka Rinne, and at least for me personally, that's kind of where it stops for big names. But then when you look at Pittsburgh, you think, okay, it's got Phil Kessel, Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Matt Murray's becoming a big name, but you also have Marc-Andre Fleury as the backup or the starting goalie, whatever they choose to do in these finals. But they just seem like they have a long list of big names that they can rely on. Is that going to be a problem for Nashville going forward, or is there just more names that are lesser known, per se, to the bigger market?
It could be, obviously. I mean, we've talked for a long time about is Crosby and Malkin the number one or 1-2 center punch in the league, and I mean, it probably is. It's hard to top that, but I mean, in my opinion, and I feel like in a lot of people's opinion, the best blue line in the league is the Nashville Predators. I mean, PK Subban obviously is one big part of that from this past year, and Shea Weber before that. But they also have Roman Josi. They have Ryan Ellis has really stepped up. Former Windsor Spitfire, by the way, to tie that into the Memorial Cup. He won. He was a part of that back-to-back team from 2009-2010, like Taylor Hall as well. So Ryan Ellis is on that blue line. Ekholm as well. So they have a very deep top four, and even their 5-6. Are a pretty good 5-6. So overall, their defense is great. Their goaltender's great. So they're just, in general, a tough team to score on. And that's where this matchup gets really intriguing, obviously. Because when we look at Pittsburgh, especially right now with how banged up their back end is, we look at them as a very offensive team, and that's what they're going to be based around. They have a 23-year-old goaltender. They have a banged-up blue line that's without their number one defenseman, but they've been playing without him for a while now in Letang. But they have Daly back. They have Schultz back. And, I mean, they still may be banged up, but I mean, that blue line is still definitely feeling it. And then up front, you have Kessel, Crosby, Malkin. You have, that HBK line of Kessel, Hagelin, and Bonino, if they need to put that back together. They have guys in depth-wise that can score. Russ has had a nice playoffs as well. And so that's what this matchup to me really comes down to, is that Pittsburgh offense against the Nashville defense. That should make it really fun to watch. And with that being said, I mean, Nashville is not only great in their own end with this defense, but this is also a defense that has contributed a lot to their offense. And that's maybe a reason why they were able to make it work against Anaheim once they lost Ryan Johansson, because losing your number one centerman is usually a deadly thing in the playoffs. But Nashville was able to overcome that against Anaheim, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they don't rely on their offense too much to come up with the offense, because their defense can help chip in with that, with guys like Yossi and Subban contributing from that back end, and even Ryan Ellis. I mean, they have guys that can chip in and throw pucks towards the net. I mean, the way Pittsburgh has put it is that they have 4 Erik Karlssons. That is incorrect, because there's only one Erik Karlsson. He is the best defenseman in the world. There's no debate about that. But they do have 4 mighty fine defensemen, obviously a better defense setup than what the Ottawa Senators have, and it's going to be a really intriguing matchup just from that, and I can't wait to watch it.
Game 1 of the Stanley Cup goes tonight at 8 p.m. in Pittsburgh, and then the NBA Finals gets underway in Golden State on Thursday, with that game time being at 9 p.m. That's it for this edition of BSS Sports. Make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at BSS Sports, archiving all of our works on YouTube at BSS Productions. For Trevor, Struthers, and myself, Stephen Schill, we'll catch you next.